You ever wish you had a superpower? You know, like in the movies? Well, what if I told you you kind of do? It's this idea that's been around forever, right? That we've all got this hidden genius just waiting to be unlocked inside our own heads.
I'm sure you've heard it. I mean, it's everywhere. You see it in movies like Lucy, where Professor Norman drops that line about us only using a tiny, tiny fraction of our brain's real power. The famous 10%. It's such a simple idea, but man, is it a powerful one.
And this thing has some serious staying power. I mean, surveys show that tons of people, we're talking even educators here, believe it's straight up fact. And you can't blame them, right? Who wouldn't want to believe they have all this untapped potential just sitting there? It's so appealing. But what does the science actually have to say about it? Let's dig in and find out.
All right, so first up, this famous 10% myth. Where did it even come from? And why? Why are we so desperate to believe it's true?
It's not just Lucy, of course. You've got movies like Limitless that totally run with this idea, right? They make it this super thrilling premise. Just pop a pill, unlock that sleepy brain matter, and boom, you can do anything. But here's the catch. A really simple look at our own biology, well, it tells a completely different story.
Okay, so to see why this whole 10% thing just completely falls apart, we don't even need to get into super complicated neuroscience. Nope, we just have to follow the energy.
Okay, first check this out. Your brain, it's only about 2% of your total body weight. That's it. So physically speaking, it's a pretty small part of the whole package. But, and this is a huge but, get this, that tiny little 2% organ eats up a massive 20% of your body's oxygen and fuel. And that's when you're just resting, just hanging out. Your brain is a total energy hog.
So that brings up a really big evolutionary question, right? Why on earth would nature bother building such an incredibly expensive, energy-guzzling organ if 90% of it was just sitting there, doing nothing? I mean, evolution is all about efficiency. It does not do waste.
And you know what? Modern science totally backs this up. We've got these incredible brain imaging tools now, like fMRI scans, which basically light up to show where blood is flowing. And what do they show? That pretty much your entire brain is active all the time. Yeah, sure, some parts are working harder than others depending on what you're doing, but no part is ever completely switched off. Even when you're dead asleep, your brain is still humming along. Okay, so the 10% myth, I think we can officially call that one busted. But that just leads to an even more interesting question, doesn't it? If we're not using 10%, does that mean we're using 100% of our brain all at the same time? And this is where things get really fascinating, because the total opposite of the 10% myth, a brain firing on all cylinders, 100% all at once, well, that's not the answer either. I mean, just think about it for a second. If every single one of your neurons fired at the exact same time, that wouldn't be some kind of super genius moment. It'd be a biological meltdown. It would basically be a massive seizure. The real genius of your brain is in its control, in these incredibly specific, coordinated patterns of activity, not just some chaotic, messy free-for-all. Which brings us to this absolutely wild idea called neural dark matter. Get this. Studies have found that a huge percentage of our neurons just stay quiet during experiments. Like, they're completely unresponsive. Scientists can show a subject images, play sounds, do all sorts of things, and these specific neurons just don't seem to react at all. So what's the deal with these quiet neurons? They're not just being lazy, that's for sure. One idea is that they're like a reserve pool, a bench of players ready to jump in if there's an injury. Or maybe they're like an evolutionary savings account, holding on to potential for our entire species to adapt down the road. They could even just be a safety buffer, like a circuit breaker, to keep our brain from totally overloading.
Okay, so if our potential isn't hidden away in some secret, unused part of our brain, then where is it? Well, this is where we get to the most empowering part of this whole story. This is the brain's real superpower.
The key here is we have to totally shift how we think about this. Your brain's potential isn't some treasure chest you have to find a key for. No, it's much more like a muscle, something you build and you shape throughout your entire life.
And this amazing ability has a name. It's called brain plasticity. All it means is that your brain is constantly changing itself, its structure, its function, based on everything you do and experience. So every single time you learn something new, you are literally, physically rewiring your own brain.
And that is the key difference. The whole sci-fi myth is about flipping a switch and instantly getting access to this hidden 90%. The reality? It's so much cooler. You build your potential, day by day, piece by piece, through practice.
You're not just creating something out of thin air. You're taking what's already there and making it stronger, better, more efficient.
It's exactly like a workout, but for your brain. When you practice a new skill, you are putting in the reps, right? You're strengthening the connections, the synapses, between your neurons. And get this, studies have shown this can actually change the physical size of certain parts of your brain. You are literally building a better brain.
And this quote from the Center for Educational Neuroscience just nails it. Our potential isn't capped by some made-up percentage of our brain. The only real limit, it seems, is the time and the effort we're willing to dedicate to learning and practicing.
And honestly, this might be the most powerful takeaway from all of this. Just knowing this is true. Just understanding that your brain isn't this fixed, static thing, but that it's malleable and it can change, that alone can have a huge impact. Seriously, studies have shown that when students are taught that their intelligence can grow, they do so much better than students who think it's just a fixed trait. Your mindset, your belief about your own ability to learn, that's the real key.
So let's just forget the 10% myth. Honestly, the reality is so much more exciting. Your brain's true untapped potential isn't some hidden room waiting to be discovered. It's more like a construction site, and you're the architect. It's your infinite capacity to learn, to adapt, and to grow. So the only question left is, what are you going to build next?